Classical music depends on tradition, but it's also about innovation and crossing cultural boundaries. That certainly applies to this year's season for the Boston Landmarks Orchestra. To bring us up to date about the series of free concerts and other activities is our guest from the orchestra, the music director, Christopher Wilkins. Thank you very much for being with us again.
Great pleasure, Chris.
I want to start with the crossing of the boundaries here, because you're doing it in a very big way this year with an artist in residence.
Well, Clarice Assad is with us for 2 separate weeks. Clarice is Brazilian, born in Rio, but trained at Berklee College of Music and the University of Michigan. And crossing boundaries in a way works in 2 or 3 different ways with Clarice, because there's the cultural connection between Brazilian music and our classical tradition. Then there's the connection that she's able to make between jazz or popular music and orchestral music. And she's written a piece for us that combines both. And then with Clarice, you also get a connection between the voice, the piano, and the orchestra, because she's a beautiful composer, a beautiful orchestrator, amazing jazz pianist and classical pianist. She's headlined at Jazz at Lincoln Center. That's a significant achievement. And she's a vocalist as well.
We're going to give you a little sample of that in this video. We sometimes hear about her that she's a scat singer in some of her performances. You know, for the untrained ears out there, which is what mine are most of the time, you say, well, she's just making that up. You know, anybody can do that, but I'm sure there's a lot more to this.
Of course, and she's written actually a scat concerto where she plays piano as a piano concerto and scats with herself and with the orchestra at the same time. What you get with Clarice is such an amazing combination of skills. And one of the things that she's going to do, we have a major series of collaborations that we've built for her in her residency with 3 neighborhood programs: Zoomix in East Boston, Grooversity, which is a percussion and samba school here in Boston, and Camp Harborview out on Long Island. And with those programs, she's going to teach the kids themselves to vocalize, to scat, to improvise vocally. And her percussionist who's coming with her is going to do the same with percussion program. She'll work those in workshops there, and then we'll bring those kids to perform with us in this improvised concerto that she's writing for the Landmarks Orchestra.
It's very appealing music. Some people will say, oh, that's like Villa-Lobos de Bachianas Brasileiras or Pat Metheny.
Yeah, well, she's written a piece that might strike people as similar to things that Villa-Lobos did. For example, Villa-Lobos was not only interested in folk song, but music for children in Brazil. And she's written a piece called Cirandadas, which is based on the ciranda, which is, in fact, a folk children's song in the tradition that she comes from. So she's playing on all of those things. And yeah, the Pat Metheny worked with a lot of Brazilian percussionists. Right. And so that was all kind of in the 20 years ago, 30 years ago maybe, when the idea of fusion was born, and Pat Metheny was certainly a leader of that. She's bringing a lot of that flavor and tenor and tone to her work with us.
Speaking of fusion, she's going to be in one of the free concerts, and the fusion is going to be her, Rimsky-Korsakov with his own Russian Middle Eastern fusion. So that's, yeah, I'm sure that was all intentional.
And her percussionist, and she's also written some arrangements for an octet of Landmarks Orchestra musicians. So in fact, our concert season kicks off this Sunday at the Pine Bank Promontory in Jamaica Plain with that group. And that same group will appear on the Outside the Box Festival in Boston Common a week later, and the whole Landmarks Orchestra there will be as well to perform an opera by Matti Kovler.
Lots of people are very familiar with the Charles River Esplanade. For people who don't know the Pine Bank in Jamaica Plain, it's our little Tanglewood, I guess.
Yes, well, it's in the Emerald Necklace. It's one of the most beautiful corners of it, and in that particular promontory, there's a place where the land rises up and looks back out over the park. So it makes a natural staging area for us, and we've done this now for several years running, and the audience has grown considerably. On a good day, we'll have several hundred people there.
Well, you've got a whole mix of programs. You've got the regular series of free concerts. We should make sure people know about that.
Every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock between now and Labor Day, and every one is a major collaboration of one kind or another. We close our season with the Commonwealth Shakespeare Company in a full production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And week 2, not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that, is Fiesta Sinfonica, when we do this wonderful collaboration between a salsa band and dancers and the Landmarks Orchestra, and that's a really fun night.
And we should mention, if people want to see the schedule and find out more about where this is happening, you've got the website.
landmarksorchestra.org.
Thank you very much for being with us. Christopher Wilkins for the Boston Landmarks Orchestra. We'll have more news in just a moment.